Hi, this is Nicholas Bell with IONCINEMA, here to review Bamboozled, the 2000 underrated masterpiece directed by Spike Lee, which Criterion is restoring and releasing on Blu-ray March 17th, 2020. So Bamboozled is, it is a masterpiece. It is perhaps an equal to Do the Right Thing, but is very underrated, probably because it was a major flop when it was released in theaters. It did compete at the 2001 Berlin Film Festival, but based on the nature of what it is, it's not the making of a hit, and that's just fine, because it's a film that's still extremely prescient. It was ahead of its time then, and I believe it's ahead of its time now. In short, it's about black TV executive played by Damon Wayans, Pierre Delacroix, who's supposedly this very whitewashed individual. He's renamed himself. His real name is Peerless Dothan. He's tasked by his obnoxious racist boss, played by Michael Rapaport, at CNS, to come up with new edgy urban programming. So he yanks these two men off the street that he's seen performing, played by Tommy Davidson and Savion Glover, and with the help of his assistant, played by an excellent and underrated Jada Pinkett-Smith as Sloane. He creates a minstrel show for the new millennium, which is of course very uncomfortable to everyone at first, but then becomes this huge hit, and then inevitably leads to destruction for everyone that's involved, save Tommy Davidson's character, who walks away before that happens. This is a film about black representation, who profits from it, as well as cultural appropriation, in ways that I think Americans are very uncomfortable with watching. There are many things here that there's an assassination that happens on screen that I think metaphorically, we see this happen now with reality television stars and social media. As always, there's an excellent cast. Besides Wayans, who, it's a little hard to get into his performance, but then as Spike Lee opened the film explaining satire through the soapbox of Pierre Delacroix, we realize why it's almost necessary that he does act this way, because otherwise it would just be kind of too incredibly dark and uncomfortable. But Glover and Davidson are excellent. As I said earlier, this might be one of Pinkett-Smith's best performances. Mos Def appears as her brother, who's in this militant music group known as the Mau Maus. Paul Mooney is excellent in one sequence as his father, as is Susan Batson as his mother, a notable acting coach. Thomas Jefferson Byrd, who's in many of Lee's features. It was lensed by Ellen Kuras, who did the previous film Summer of Sam, which I was not a fan of. But there's a great, interesting visual aesthetic with the film. The reality is filmed in digital, which they were able to use plenty of camera angles all over that kind of create these anxious performances. But then the minstrel show itself is filmed in 16mm. That's supposed to be the more beautiful aesthetic. I saw this years ago, around the time it was first released, and there were things about it that stuck with me that will stick with you after watching it, and such as kind of the historical images of blackface that are presented throughout. I don't think I've seen anything that is that uncomfortable utilizing those images since Tales from the Hood 2, which Spike Lee also executive produced, namely the Gollywogs. And also the very final moments of the film is a montage of Hollywood's use of blackface, set, I think, perfectly to Tommy Blanchard's score. I know Spike Lee did something a little bit similar at the end of Black Klansman, but I think it's served, its intents and purposes are served best here. I don't think Bamboozled is a fun film. I think it's an important film, and I think that and Do the Right Thing are the pillars of Spike Lee's already impressive filmography. I would give this film 4.5 out of 5 stars, and Criterion's release 4 out of 5 stars. And lastly, just be sure to check out the extra features. It's a 2K digital restoration. There's a 2001 audio commentary track from Lee. There's a conversation between Spike Lee and film critic Ashley Clark, who check out the essay insert she writes. I think it's an excellent place to dive into Lee's work, and also the influences, including Network, the producers, and Bud Schulberg was dedicated to film, who obviously wrote the script for the Elia Kazana Face in the Crowd film that this is also clearly in conversation with. There's making a featurette and deleted scenes and interviews with Glover, Davidson, and costume designer Ruth E. Carter, all worth checking out. Thank you.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.